welcome all. I've been told I have to speed things up from the last talk, so we're going to rattle through this. As this is saying, we're Key Facilities Management. I'm not going to labour too much on ourselves, but we're a facilities management business, as the name, I guess, alludes to. And there's a few of our, I guess we would view ourselves as pioneers in the FM space. And one example I'd highlight is the new global ISO standards that have just come into existence last April. The technical committee that created those standards was from 44 countries, spearheaded by China, Germany, and the United Kingdom. And that technical committee has been in existence for 5 years and had one chairman over those 5 years, and he has just been voted in for the next 5 years, and that chairman's our CEO. So we very much view ourselves as steeped in the traditions of FM, the professional discipline, but as I'm going to go through today, we are very embracing of innovation and new technologies. It's not a case of if it's not broken, don't fix it. It's a case of if it can be done better, let's make it better. So what we've done with that innovation is built an application on the Betty Blocks environment that we call Keystone. And you can see a list here of some of the elements that we have integrated inside that application. Some of the sound bites of the age, Internet of Things, digital twin, mixed reality, artificial intelligence. These are all current reality to us all. Are we fully mature in the understanding of how these things all work? I would say it's a moving feast, but it's very much at a point now where I believe any organization can start to leverage these type of enablers and move to not just smarter buildings, but smarter estates going in the macrocosm, but also into smarter workplaces in the microcosm, all driven towards a perspective of enhanced experience to our ultimate stakeholder communities. So some of the sound bites here of why make a building smart? Well, I think at the end of the day, the return on investment is probably one of the easiest sells. But I think healthier, happier, more productive workforce is definitely an easy sell. And as I guess the two bottom points would allude to there, is we believe we can bring about a enhanced, if not excellent experience when you're in your workplace, but we can also move to a point where you get the experience that you're after, not just an average experience that's based on the aggregate of all your colleagues. Actually move to a point where you're getting something that's more catered and tailored to you and your needs. So just to break out smart buildings into kind of our core 4 quadrants, we would look at smart assets, and this is moving to a point where you were looking at planned preventative maintenance, which ultimately was a perspective of experience. So lots of professionals over many years looking at this is what a HVAC system does, this is what a lighting solution looks like, and then taking these measures to then have 6 monthly checks, whatever the case may be. With smart assets, we can make the assets talk to you, we can start putting IoT on them, and we can move to a more conditional approach. So rather than waiting for 6 months, if the asset doesn't need repaired and it's performing both energy and mechanically perfectly, why send anyone out to check an asset to complete a work order to say, yeah, it didn't need any help? Or conversely, why wait for an asset to break if its next check 6 months from now or 5 months from now? If the energy draw is starting to look questionable, if the mechanical performance of the unit's looking questionable, then let's not wait till the asset's broken, fix it before it breaks, and again, improve that experience. If we look at smart utilities, maybe more of a mature space, energy management's been, I guess, the low-hanging fruit for FM for a number of decades, but we're moving to using things like artificial intelligence inside that energy, so we can review the cycles 5,000 times a second, and then we can start to disaggregate that energy draw and even get down to individual asset usage within the boards themselves. And smart space, I think, is really emergent. It's come much more prominent over the last few years, and we would see, again, using things like artificial intelligence. We have units we use that the board inside the unit takes an optical lens feed. It's completely binary, so GDPR compliant. But the artificial intelligence would leverage that optical feed and disaggregate that movement patterns to then give you insights into how many people are using your rooms, your spaces, your meeting rooms, whatever the case may be. And we can get into really sophisticated levels of understanding in that regard, where we get XY coordinates of the individual. So not only can we tell you how many people, but we can tell you where they're moving and also how fast they're moving. So in terms of informing really accurate space management insight, the IoT smart devices are very much enabling that. And the final point would be around the smart environment. Again, it's one of those things, we've all probably been in meeting rooms where it's a board meeting room, it's packed, and 40 minutes into the hour session, people get drowsy. Science would say 20% cognitive hindrance if CO2 levels reach 2,000 particles in the atmosphere. So again, it's invisible. How do you know if you don't measure? So the idea here, I guess, with making a building smart is you bring in measurement parameters. And if you measure, you can understand, and if you understand, you can improve. So a smart building is not just about delivering energy efficiency, but it's also about this more eloquent, more proactive design approach to, again, just reducing real estate requirements, moving to activity-based working, whatever the case may be, but with knowledge is power. So just wanted to give you a little bit of context in terms of who we are, what we're doing, and why we're doing it. But today's not about key facilities management. Today's about Betty Blocks. So to let you see a little bit of what we've done with the platform, here's a few screenshots of our application, our Keystone application. And here we have our facility hub. The idea of these hubs is single pane of glass theory, is aggregate all your underlying variant data into something very, very visual, quick to get that actionable insight into. So we would see, I mean, last summer I was with Facebook, and their current research is suggesting that visual information is around 60,000 times quicker for the human to interpret than text-orientated information. So if you take that, that's no small number. And if you can empower your people to get access to that information 60,000 times quicker than they maybe traditionally would, I think that's a clear win for everyone. So the idea here is blend these information stacks into something that, even on your smartphone, the whole application's responsively designed. So in some instances, to be honest, the actual UX is maybe enhanced on a mobile, which I think is the absolute state we want to get to. So here's just a details page. Again, it's about creating tabs for these unified relational data models, making it such that you have everything in the palm of your hand, literally. And the idea here is just taking what's in those underlying data models and giving you a one-stop shop to access what you need when you need it, as I say, even from your pocket and your smartphone. If any of you are familiar with facilities management, this is what a planned preventative maintenance regime looks like. So again, it's about visualizing that, making it color orientated. Colors are very easy for us to understand. Traditionally, red's bad, green's good. But I think quick and easy, you can look across maybe 10,000 instances, but actually understand that within the course of a few minutes, what's going on across your entire connected estate. Here we have just one of the internal modules we have. It's a visitor management. This was developed very, very rapidly on the BettyBlocks platform. And in this scenario, we're able to, again, empower the FM team. So, for example, one of the custom pages we built was for fire alarms. So the FM could access all the visitors, so the non-known entities, the people visiting just for one day, and then do a roll call. And again, if we leverage our IoT connected spaces, we not only would be able to identify maybe who was missing, but we could look at the optical lens AI feed and find out where in the building they may be. Maybe they're trapped, need assistance. So again, empowering the FM team to be more proactive and support the needs. And another module, just for an example, is around room booking itself. Very similar to Microsoft Outlook or whatever you may use as a kind of planning tool. But in this scenario, we're able to, again, pull in the data sets from our IoT to then say, okay, Gordon may have booked a meeting room for the day, but life happened and I had other arrangements and I forgot to cancel. Well, in this scenario, we could set a tolerance banding of, say, 10 minutes and say if no occupants arrive, then unbook the meeting room. Put it back into the general population so somebody else can make use of it. So here's something just a little more on a connected space. These are from an array of Internet of Things technology. So we have noise levels, thermal comfort from both temperature and humidity, as well as a multitude of environmental insight and occupancy. So again, you not only know how your room's performing environmentally, you know how comfortable it is and how many people are making use of these spaces. But again, if you then regurgitate that back to the user communities, they can then look at it and make decisions based on their activity-based needs of the day. So if you get to a scenario where you're going to write a proposal, you want a quiet space, you want availability, and you don't want it too hot because you need to focus and deliver this proposal across the 3 hours you've allowed yourself in that afternoon. This gives you all the information to make that right decision. And rather than going to the 30th floor of the building and then finding all the seats are taken and it's too noisy and then wandering around for half an hour to find a new location, while you're on your train on the way to the office, log in, see the live status, and make those decisions. So as soon as you hit reception, you know exactly what you're doing, where you're going, and then you can get to what your needs of the day are that little bit quicker. Those are live snapshots. We also move into more analytical space, so we would take whatever time frame period to then give you peaks and troughs, give you kind of top level insights. If any of you are familiar with the well building standard, if you want to attain a gold level, then volatile organic compounds, which is the kind of purpley colour at the top, they would say 500 is where you need to retain that. Now, Chris said earlier on in the session this morning that the BettyBlocks roadmaps to get to 2023 where you don't need trained to become a user of the platform. I would say that right here, right now, with our visualization methodology, I don't need to train any of you to understand when that gold standard's maybe being compromised. You have a line, it says 500, and I think all of you can see any breaches that have happened to that instantly. So you maybe want to slice and dice this, look at sound, air quality, temperature, and occupancy to get a more 360 understanding. But this is all about the art of the possible. What does your community need? What does your user profiles look like? What kind of workplace do they need and want? And then surface that information and insight in an application that they all can carry in their pockets. Taking some of that information, the next step we've taken is what we call our digital twin. And for any of you that are in the gaming sector, it's built on the Unreal Engine. So this is very much about taking these insights you've just seen, but then putting them in a mixed reality layer. So this is all AR, VR friendly. For example, we're looking at a thermal layer just now. Again, I believe no training's needed. What rooms are too hot? Instantly you're drawn to the red color, and preventative action can be taken quite quickly. This is one floor of one skyscraper. If you take that across 30 floors, I would believe you still have a number of seconds till you'll understand what room you need to be focusing on. This digital twin can go into so many different layers. We can get to a point where it's even around different stakeholder groups. So for example, we have a visual impaired layer, and that can be utilizing kind of Bluetooth meshes. So when you go over the threshold of a particular kind of geo-fenced area, walking through a door, you could then have an MP3 type audio file click in and give a descriptor of exactly the workplace environment said individual's just moved into. So again, it's no matter which way you want to slice and dice this, you can cater to that one-to-one experience and get people to where they're going quicker, make it more accurate, which ultimately derives an enhanced experience and better, productive, more happy workforce. The future. So what you've seen is what we've done, where we've come from, what we've tried to achieve, but it doesn't stop. And the next phase of what we're moving to now is the autonomous building. We believe about 60% of the day-to-day tasks within the built environment can be automated. You maybe need to bring in some controls, have it all worked, flowed out, leverage a bit of artificial intelligence. But we've set about with UK government, a number of our Fortune 500 businesses that are going to bring their estates into the project, and a university from Scotland who are going to help with some of the data science elements, and we're going to create a digital twin framework and the roadmap to an autonomous building. And we very much see that as the future of FM. We see that as the future of the entire built environment. And I think moving to that point where, again, it's all about how we experience the built environment and move into that very much enhanced and more accurate experience of it is, for us as professionals anyway, very much the aim and the goal. So, apologies, I had to kind of rattle through that, but is there any questions from the audience around anything I've shared so far? I don't know if...
Yeah, I can try like this.
Okay, I can hear you.
To show the number of screenshots, I guess you have been using some custom components to build this with Betty blocks, and I was wondering, if so, what is the ratio between the effort that you had to spend on building custom components and building the application itself?
Apart from our Unreal engine for our digital twin, everything's native in Betty blocks. So we're probably 80% Betty blocks orientated and 20% sitting with our third-party integrated, but all our controls for the digital twin are JavaScripted into the Betty blocks environment. So I certainly wouldn't say the whole leveraging of the digital twin and the complexities sitting within that are no code. That's definitely not the case. But the entire system architecture was built no code. And yeah, I would say roughly about 80-20, but it's the beginning of the journey for the guys here, you know. So we've seen some of the innovations coming, and just like anything, time progresses everything. So I would expect more and more of that spectrum to move. But at the moment, that's where we find ourselves in that current reality. Any other questions?
Yeah,
It's a good question. I think I can see a future of FM where that transition as an entire sector would become far more software orientated. I think the rise of data scientists in our sector is significant. I think because what we deal with is so fixed, it's buildings, they're not getting up and going home every day. So I think we're one of the best sectors to start leveraging the power of AI. But I think that's one of the messages I would leave you all with in terms of the Bitty Blocks event that we're all at, is the digital transformation isn't just happening to our clients, it's also happened to us. We have very much changed in our identity, and we've been very comfortable with technology in the past and embracing PDAs or whatever the case may have been when they came out. But as the Chief Information Officer, my job's about continuing to progress that movement into a more information-orientated perspective on the built environment. So if I do my job right, then for our organisation, the answer would be yes. But yeah, it's a moving feast. But I think no matter who we are, I think that the fact your fridge can order your milk when it starts to get down 3/4 in level, and next morning you're sitting with it at the doorstep, it's going to start bleeding through to all aspects of our lives. So I think that digital transformation is without a doubt upon us, and I don't think it will. Agriculture. I believe one of the most innovative dairy farms on the planet's in the Netherlands, and they now have Fitbits for cows. So they sit round the cow's neck, but there's basically 6 main illnesses that any cow would have, and they're now at a point where there's a Bluetooth gateway when the cows come in for milking, and they're able to download the movement patterns of that cow for the last 24 hours. And then at exit point, the gates will, in essence, fence out all the ill animals. So when the farmer gets up 5, 6 in the morning, he's not going out across the fields. He's got a pen full of ill animals that need treated. That's completely revolutionised agriculture. So I think the applications of this are enormous. Does that answer? Yeah. Any other questions? Cool. Okay, guys. Well, thanks for your time and patience. Hopefully that gave some inspiration for what the art of the possible is on Bitty Blocks. I think, as I say, the parting comment would be, I see it as an enablement platform. And if you're clear on your ideas, if you understand what you want to do with your business, no matter the sector you happen to be in, then ideas can win out with enablement platforms, and we just remove some of those barriers to then allow those good ideas to flourish. And in terms of the governance and control of that, I'll leave that to other members of today's sessions. But certainly for us, it's been a maybe becoming a revolution rather than an evolution. I can see it very much changing all that we do in this space. But I think because of our heritage and how we're steeped in the professional discipline, I think it's a really nice blend, and it gives client confidence whilst bringing integrated innovation. But thanks very much, and enjoy the rest of your day, everyone. Cheers.